Let's call the 1928 Building Committee to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Ready? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public comment. Kat, do you know if we have anyone virtually?
Nope, there are no attendees online, but we do have a statement that was submitted to the website
Okay,
to be added from Jay Tooling regarding universal design.
okay. So we'll just add that to, does it need to be read and added to the minutes? Okay.
Oh, sorry.
All right, agenda item D, I need a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
So moved. Second.
Any comments, changes, anyone? All those in favor, state by saying aye.
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 Okay, minutes. We have one correspondence from a Greg Kaminsky pertaining to, I think, the square footage and size and usage of the building, correct?
Yes, we've contacted Mr. Kaminsky to let him know that we are working on a comparison of square footage in here versus square footage proposed for up there. We're working with the architects to finalize that and give some context before we send it back to the requester.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Kat. Reports, chair report, I have nothing new to report. Town council liaison report, Joe, anything?
Do not have anything for you today.
Okay, FHS building committee liaison report, Chris, please.
Sure. No, I mean, I guess the big news would be, as everybody's well aware, the referendum passed, so the additional appropriation of 9.7 million, I guess it was approved. I mean, turnout was, I guess, cautiously optimistic. It's going to be better, but we're pleased with the result. Other than that, not a lot has been going on. We are in the process of reviewing 2 bid packages for materials testing firms. We're doing the typical scoring sheets and handing those in and be making that determination coming up in the future. But other than that, it's been relatively quiet because of the referendum.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Next on to the architect report. Chris, would you like to start your presentation?
Sure. Oh, thank you.
I'm saying we should have definitely Anna down here. She's running around doing this 9 months pregnant.
Thank you. Since our previous meeting, we've done some slight refinement to the floor plans. We were all in a good place last time we met. Russ had recommended we look at maintaining the area of the building that's currently above the basement. After we had discovered that that basement was part of the original 28 building, and that was a great recommendation. In review of the structural systems used to construct that piece, as well as the waterproofing and exterior envelope around that area, we feel it would be very beneficial to maintain that area of the building. It will minimize the amount of reconstructive efforts needed. If we were to peel this 1-story piece off that's located above the existing basement, and you gain some additional programmatic square footage, which we are showing as an additional recreation classroom here in the blue up in the corner. And we've also relocated the toilet rooms. If you recall, previously we were showing the toilet rooms stacked below the toilet rooms on the floors above. But given the reintroduction of this space, we need to maintain what is the existing corridor running through the 28 building. So we've repurposed or relocated the toilet rooms to this location in the plan, which puts them above the basement. Very easy to provide those renovations as we have access from below. It also helps separate the toilet function and the rec function from the town hall function in this facility. So we can very easily provide security and locked points at this end of the facility so that the gymnasium, multi-purpose room, rec classrooms, and toilet rooms can be maintained for after-hours use while the remainder of town hall is secured and locked off. On the right-hand side is the basement plan, which we've now confirmed those dimensions, and we would intend to maintain this area for your utilities and services, primary electrical, primary gas, fire protection, and mechanical services coming into the building. The upper levels have not changed since our previous meeting, so I won't go into fine detail, but if you have any questions, please speak up. I would be happy to answer. Last week, I believe, or 2 weeks ago, we met with the town hall leaders as well as the project architects and civil engineers for the high school project. And the purpose of that meeting was to come together to discuss the overall site plan as we're, blending these two projects. We really want one campus plan that works for both functions, the high school and the 1928 building. And following that meeting, we've made the revisions that you're seeing here, which include providing a little more green space between the 28 building and the high school parking. So we're proposing removing one row of parking on the right-hand side or the east side of 28 building. We've also eliminated the loop drive that circled the 28 building and instead given it one way in, one way out, vehicle access off of this main road that comes off Monteith. So Monteith would be to the bottom right of the page. If you're coming to the 28 building, you would take the first left when you reach the top of the hill, and that main drive would take you past all of the high school functions, bus loops, and directly to that 28 parking on the left-hand side of our facility. And then exiting would be the same path. So there's no cross mingling of traffic between the two functions. We've shifted the tennis courts even further up the hill to provide more green space, some more pathways to establish that campus feel. And also we've added parking as you see in the dark gray up here, which would be high school parking. And that was to offset the tennis parking lot that had to be relocated from the original high school design, and also this one row of high school parking that we removed. So there's no net change. It's just moving parking from these two locations that were directly adjacent to the 28 building and getting them up here more towards the high school and the Board of Ed facility.
Is there a lighting plan that goes with all that?
At this point, we do not have a lighting plan for the 28 building. But that's something we will certainly look into and lay out pre-referendum. We're also beginning to look three-dimensionally at the 28 building and the surrounding site. These are all in development, but we wanted to show you our progress. And really our goal is to develop the referendum material that you'll need to portray what will this building look like to the townspeople when they come out for that referendum, and also just to have your town coffee meetings and updates to give them the most recent progress on this project. We're looking at what that addition may be, the addition being our one-story entry vestibule to the 28 building, and then the elevator tower. This first one depicts, and I'll go to this, just how we had laid it out in plan. And we were looking really programmatically up to this point of, we know where the elevator wants to come into the building. We know where the vestibule wants to be, but hadn't really started to develop the architecture and how we tie new to old. But we wanted to give you a sense of what that would appear to look like. But then we took it a step further and said, can we respect the 28 building a little bit more by potentially pulling that elevator shaft off of the 28, so it's not directly attached. And instead there perhaps is a glass connector that connects the elevator shaft to lead you into that facility. So in this rendering, the elevator would be located here. So it's not actually directly attached to the building, but we just extend that corridor out to grab it. And we're going to continue to develop these in both 3D perspective and plan, just to kind of show you a few solutions for how we can achieve this to best work programmatically, but also to work with the existing and new architecture of the facility.
Chris, just back to that for a second, just for people's perspective, that's on the north side of the building, right?
Correct.
So
Where the auditorium.
where the
is.
auditorium currently is. So if people are thinking, if they see that, that would be from the auditorium and that parking lot area, if just for reference point.
Right. This is from we're standing in the 1928 parking lot.
Yeah,
in this
right.
Perspective, right? And, you know, this is really existing, where we would obviously recommend restoring some items on the original building, but the front elevation of this 28 building is essentially going to look as it did in
Yes, it
in
did.
1928. With our addition, as you said, Peter, to the northwest off the new parking lot.
Do you mind a question about,
Sure.
when you said, is the kind of yellowish tan, is that there now, around the bottom of the building?
Back to
Did you go back to
the front.
the whole, it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First floor.
Totally missed. Huh.
It's the limestone.
Yeah, there was originally a limestone base
Yeah.
and they
finished.
parged, yeah.
It is a stucco.
There's a parge.
I can't believe how many times I've driven it. They're not,
Did you lower it down a little bit? Lower the grade down a little bit, or is it just a window change?
It's tended to be pretty close to what it is. Maybe
Yeah.
The rendering depicts it a little differently from this angle. But no, we're not adjusting the grades. much
Right.
At all.
Our intent is to work with the existing grades,
Yeah.
meaning we have an elevated exit on the east and west ends of the building where the stairs come out. Our ADA entrance and exit would be this new vestibule. As well as, you know, grades pick back up towards the rear of the building where the current entrance to the high school is off the driving loop.
What's behind?
when you
The
spoke
chimney.
about that lane,
That-
the separated lane from the
Yes.
buses and the high school traffic,
Yeah.
is that a lane that
that
we're
would be
creating
right.
for the 1928?
Yeah.
No, that's how you,
There.
if you were to take a left at the top of the hill currently
Yeah.
and go down to the high school entrance at that end, at the west side of the building, it's that same drive that currently exists.
So, but it'll be separated out, I think you said, from right there.
Yeah, right there, Gene.
So it's separated by landscaped islands between the high school parking lot and that drive.
Okay. I'm not familiar with what the new high school, they're coming up to the right, I believe. So this will be an opportunity to go to the left when school traffic's
Going
to the
straight.
right.
They're gonna go straight, right?
Going straight.
There's
I don't
multiple,
know.
yeah, there's multiple ways to go in.
Right.
You go up Monteith and to the right is a bus drop off and a parent drop off loop.
Uh-huh.
And then students would kind of go to the left a little bit to get to that parking lot that is depicted there.
Uh-huh.
And then faculty and staff go to the back because there's a road between the new building and the 900 wing. So they kind of go
Right.
and loop around the back. So there's a couple.
Right there.
So is there both traffic? Excuse me, now I'm gonna start coughing. That lane that we're talking about, that's going down to the 1928. Will students and people going to the 1928 be on that lane at the same time?
Correct.
They will.
I mean, if to start, to start down the route and then they'll veer off to
Wait,
the right.
can
to
I
the
just
student
point-
parking
yeah.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's get some clarity.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
think that was the case. So
But this-
if you can explain that, they're coming up. Now you take, as you do it, you're going to the auditorium.
Right,
You go
Yes.
On that road.
right.
Did any students go on that road? I thought students went this way.
Students would go to the parking lot that's right there. That's where student parking is.
So they come this way to go into the parking
Correct.
lot?
Correct.
Yeah.
But also school starts a lot earlier than town hall functions would be starting.
So they do come up and then the buses go this way, but the kids can come down this way and go into the parking lot this way.
Kathy, the buses will veer to the right at the top of Monteith. Cause they're even further to the right, like on the wall.
By where the
Yeah,
tents
over there.
are.
There's a bus loop. It goes like this. There's a bus loop and a parent. That kind of goes this way. And then if you're a student, you'll veer to the left to park in those parking lots that are on our screen.
So in theory, the students can come down this road and come into the parking lot.
That's where I got confused because I thought you had said that that was gonna be, there was some buffer between the parking and that
Yeah, right there.
road.
Where the
So
cursor is.
originally.
So there isn't,
Originally, there was parking where Chris's mouse is, and we thought that was very close for students to park towards the 28.
yep,
So they eliminated that, made it more green space, so there's more of a buffer between student parking and 1928. And then up by the tennis courts, that parking
Yep,
was
yep.
reallocated.
no, I meant, see, where the lanes off the road start to go.
These are gonna be buffers, but it still can come down.
Okay.
and go in.
Mhm.
What I misunderstood was I thought that it was, I couldn't figure out how the kids were getting in there because I thought you meant that that was a continuous buffer. Of those
Oh.
little rectangles
No,
in
that's
between the road and the lanes. And just real quick, while I'm on the outside there, the tennis courts and the parking that you shifted up. What's happening to the hill? Is it still there? Or are we gonna have to go into? If the tennis courts, I assume is not part of our project. No. Okay. And the parking's not part of ours. I was just curious because there's a hill.
There are still regrading efforts at that end. I don't believe it's as severe as when the ball field was planned to be there,
Right.
but will still be regrading necessary.
There might be some
for the courts.
walls around the courts or something, some low walls.
I believe previously they had done it all through grading. It was a pretty aggressive slope up that
Yeah.
hill,
Yeah,
but
it is.
I don't think there were any retaining walls.
Yeah, I
So I
don't,
wouldn't anticipate it
Okay.
based on this design.
Okay,
Chris, do you think maybe just for future meetings, you can expand that site plan to just maybe give a little more clarity
Sure.
and visuals for the committee and people who would want to see this information, where all these lanes go?
Yes.
thanks.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. I've seen from for the new high school, but that confused me. I got it now.
Will these tennis courts be lit like the old ones were?
That's,
Will there be lighting? Will these be lighted tennis courts? Do you know?
I don't know.
that would be. the
Yeah,
first
that would be in
one.
the high school project, but what we have said since the beginning of the high school is we would want the same, current situation that we have. We have post-tension concrete. We would probably want to give back the same existing conditions that we have, but we can confirm if that was included in the scope for the tennis courts. Could you show-
Because those courts are open to the public who want to play tennis in the evening.
And then I-
Right.
All this to the one.
Okay.
Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you.
Good. Mhm. Mhm. We've also turned our engineers loose based on the designs we've been working through over the past few months. And they've started to develop narratives and recommendations for the proposed systems. In terms of mechanical, I'll jump ahead to the mechanical plan. I know it's tough to see, but the Cliffs Notes is we're recommending a VRF or variable refrigerant flow system. There are a few benefits to a system of this nature, and I'll keep this brief. It allows you to provide heating and cooling through different areas of the building simultaneously. So we're really trying to optimize the ability you have to manage temperature control throughout all spaces of the building while maintaining highly energy efficient equipment. So eliminating the steam, oil, or gas and oil dual fired boilers down in the basement and going with some rooftop equipment located over the gym space as well as within the attic space. And we're trying to reutilize existing systems where we can, meaning ductwork that is driving through chases within the building. So rather than tearing out existing walls and replacing the ductwork, we are analyzing what we can reuse so that we're just replacing the equipment at either end, but reusing that infrastructure of the building. We are suggesting to maintain a small condensing boiler in the basement with the perimeter radiation around the building that exists now, refinished, of course, but that would provide you with the additional heat capacity during the really, really cold spells of the winter. In terms of electrical, still maintaining a primary service coming into the basement area where it exists currently, and trying to maintain your panels in locations relatively close to where they are now as well, but all new infrastructure, all new LED energy efficient lighting throughout. We have the MDF room, which is your main server room, as well as a secondary IDF room on the second floor. We worked through all this with your IT department as well as Russ, and believe it's a simple yet highly efficient system. We were asked to start to look at the potential for solar panels. So we've just graphically shown potentially where these could be placed. We certainly need to orient them to the southern exposure as much as we can. So this is just to give you a sense, if solar panels were to be considered, they would likely be on that front elevation or the hillside elevation of the roof, as well as the flat roof over that gymnasium space.
So on the actual hip roof of, okay.
Yeah, in order for the loads required, this is a rough beginning of how many panels might be needed. So we believe we would need to populate both that hip roof of the 28 building on the south side, as well as a majority of the flat roof above what is the band room currently. We have narratives developed for all these systems that we'd like to distribute, if they haven't already been, after this meeting, to the committee members, and certainly answer any questions via email tonight or as follow-up at our next meeting. But that's essentially where we are as of today.
Thank you, Chris. Any members have any questions for Chris and Dave?
A couple.
Go ahead, Jack.
I think it looks good. I wonder, is there anything in, I'm just brainstorming here, so. The gym just looks like a box. Is there anything in the budget to do anything with those walls, get some high windows or something, and something to make it look less like a box?
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that because I forgot to mention it. So
Right there.
we
Yeah.
originally, it's a great looking box. Originally, there were high windows in what was that 1928 auditorium / gym space, and we would want to restore those. We have not added them into the rendering yet,
Okay.
so they're coming. But yeah, we believe that high windows likely wrap the three sides of that two-story
Yeah,
space.
and
And
it might be just like some sort of cornice or something to.
Yes.
To relate it to the existing building. Could you next meeting just bring some plans that we could scale? I don't know. I was gonna ask about the distance from the on the east side of the 1928 building to the parking lot. I don't know if you can scale it on this or not.
That question too.
It looks good. I just was wondering what it is.
I believe it was about 130 feet in
To the
width
parking lot?
to the other side of the building. So, and then another,
Oh, from the east side to the parking lot.
Just
The green space, yes,
Yeah.
yes, that would be
oh,
a clear way to ask.
Just to give you a sense of scale.
oh, the other parking lot.
So
Yeah.
I'd say you're roughly about 50 feet
Yeah.
from, roughly 50 feet from the face of the building to the curb.
Yeah, that seems good. And I think it still makes sense. I was when we first didn't have the loop, I was wondering if it made sense to move the entry, but I think it still makes sense where it is for the building. You drive around the building to get to the entry, which I think is okay. I think probably the elevations, when you start really looking at the elevations to scale and proportions of them, that would be good. I like where you guys are going.
Gene, you have something?
Yeah, I like your idea about this, because I'm curious also about the tennis courts and the green space between that new parking and I'm just curious what that would be in the future. You don't have to. And I'm assuming signage will be partially our responsibility as well for getting into the 1928. And what are the hours? Sorry.
8:30 to 4:30.
8:30, 4:30.
I'm sure between this committee and the FHS building committee, I'm sure signage will be worked out.
Yeah, it's just gonna be,
Pretty,
signage is
pretty
always-
much in thorough detail.
I'm just curious about what that green space is gonna look like and be possibly used for, maybe after school. That all green to the left of the 1928 with parking? What is
Yes.
that?
Yes.
It is usable?
Yes, that's actually where your parking lot currently sits for the
I was wondering
auditorium.
if that's
Yes.
what, so it's not up to the, okay.
I think, Gene, this plan has put a lot more green space into what we originally started with.
Yeah, if we
That's
look at
great.
from the beginning till now, it's substantially
It
increased.
sure is.
And we tried to definitely have without the back loop so that the town hall business is really like the kids aren't coming down that way. So they'd be in the parking lot, but no one's really going in front of the new town hall. And then they'd park in the back unless you're doing town business. And when we met with Scott and we met with the architects, they went through all this stuff. And I think it's a good communication about, what Scott needs for with the school and with the building committee. And like these guys have been working, like they pushed the tennis courts up and they've been coordinating between the two groups.
No, I appreciate that effort and I appreciate that time. I was concerned, as everybody was, about the opportunity for green space for things, pick me up things after school for students.
Okay, any other questions? Russ?
Yeah, can you go back to the rendering for shows the front of the high school? So right there, those windows are pretty much at grade, the bottom of the
Yes.
window. So one thing, I think we need to adjust that going when
Agreed.
we go out, so it
Yes.
really represents what we have.
So do you mean the bottom windows
The
are
bottom
closer to
windows.
the ground?
Correct.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
Touching the ground.
okay.
Yeah, and I think that the center window where there must have been a door years ago,
Yeah, originally that was the door.
It's a soft door.
right? I think that window is like,
gone.
no, it's there, but I think some of it's under some dirt,
Okay.
or it's real close.
Yep.
So I think as part of this project, I would prefer that we do some grading to make an adjustment to get some
Yeah.
more space, as you depict here. I think it's fine. But we need to depict what we actually have. I think we need to drop that down a little bit. Just so we get some more grade away from the window, so we don't have any, when we get our big snows, Kathy's not out there shoveling her, so no water goes in.
She'll be on the third.
We don't want
Yeah,
that.
right, thank you.
She'll be like this. It looks wet down there.
There's snow piling up to the window. Okay. Dan, Chris, anything? Mike?
Yeah, Peter, I don't know, just maybe to Chris, but just generally the group. I mean, maybe just if we could walk through and Chris finalizing his plans and just the timeline. So, because I get questions about it and just maybe just refresh my recollection in terms of, getting this to referendum when we expect Chris to finalize his plans. It's just more of a timeline question.
We're gonna do that.
Yeah.
During communication.
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Okay, I didn't know if this was the right time.
Dan, Mike, anything?
I think it looks great. I don't have any questions above and beyond, but I think it looks great.
Okay.
And it shows the part that you're keeping just up today over the basement that you're keeping. Does that show on the renderings?
It hasn't been fenestrated with windows yet, but it's this one story
Oh, okay.
piece that you can see there. That's at least the scale of the space, but there's quite a few windows on the front side. And we have discussed removing the chimney. There's really no use for that tall chimney that exists currently, but maintaining the stair and the areaway for access down to the basement.
Okay,
I think, just to add to, thank you very much for the 3D, and Russ, thank you for making that suggestion for them to look into that and see if it's cost effective to keep it or to destroy it. So thank you.
You're quite welcome.
all right, we'll move on now to the communications. Dan?
Yep,
Jean?
I can speak to, I'll speak to that, Gene, is that all right?
Absolutely, Dan. Thank you.
Okay, so we met today. We reviewed the proposed 1928 Building Committee newsletter, which we thought was extremely well written. There is a notable blank in the in it, which states that at the December 13th, 2022 Town Council meeting, the Town Council gave unanimous consensus that the 1928 building would be, and I would suggest the word would be demolished if the upcoming referendum does not pass. And it would be my suggestion that that word be inserted if in fact that's what comes out of the council meeting tonight. We spent a little time discussing the use of the American Rescue Plan Act funds. So we had a better understanding of the amount of the funds, which is approximately $7 million. The wording of this paragraph basically indicates that that the council has indicated they're going to use the majority of those funds to offset the costs. So in terms of truth in advertising and full disclosure, I just want to make sure, and Joe, you might weigh in on this if that's correct. So the majority to me would be if you have $7 million, anywhere from $5 to $6 million would be a majority to me. And if that's the proposal, then I think that's great. The only other thing we discussed was the creation of a separate question and answer sheet. Kat's working on that now. We will, Jean and I will refine that with her to make sure that we have the appropriate questions that we think the public will ask, and more importantly, we have the correct answers that go along with it. That Q&A will be added to the website and also be part of the second newsletter, which we will send out. And that is the report. Thank you.
Dan, if you don't mind, I'm just going to add, when you look at the statement of needs, we talked about the third bullet down, the gym space for basketball. We didn't want to give the impression that we have a
Basketball court.
Regulation.
Yeah,
So we're, I'm not sure about.
Gymish space.
yeah, I like that.
That's how I say like this.
Well, Jean is correct. And that the only thing I was concerned about is I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. And I don't know exactly whether or not, however we phrase it, we want to make sure that the public understands that it's not a full-size gym, but it's adequate and excellent space to accomplish many recreational activities and leisure activities like yoga. So as long as the public understands, what that space can be used for, they won't be disappointed when they see that it's not a full regulation basketball court, as an example.
I don't know if we just leave it like that, if that just covers everything. I remember when I was on the Westwoods committee, we had a huge conversation about that being a regulation basketball court, and it is.
Yeah, I think this will evolve, and then we'll get the wording correct on what types of activities can be used in this space.
Well, that can also be
Yeah.
a Q&A.
Yeah.
What would take place in the multipurpose recreational facility?
That's
And we
what I
can
did.
clarify
Right.
that it's not regulation and this is what we envision it for. I think that's probably the best way to do it.
Right.
Excellent suggestion.
Yeah, it's perfect.
This is very good. Just
I
looking at it
would just,
here right
because
now.
this is the first time some of you are seeing it,
Yeah.
I can email it to those online, but if you want to skim it and you see anything that, you want to modify, change, edit, just shoot me an email. We're hoping to get this to the printer the last week in December to hit mailboxes the first week of the new year.
Maybe this would be the time, Jean, did you want some clarification on meeting schedules or what was your question?
Yeah, I just wanted to, if you don't mind, just clarifying the next few, our
Meetings.
next meetings, please.
Maybe we can do that in conjunction with Chris's question about getting us to referendum. Yeah,
okay.
kind of Kat and I were working on a schedule this week. So maybe Kat, if you can start from the next meeting on.
Yep, so actually on this newsletter, it has our 2023 meeting schedule. So we're going to continue the pattern of, for these meetings, meeting before the town council meetings on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. So we're scheduled for January 10th and January 24th. Kind of high level next steps for the project itself. In January, this committee would present to the town council these floor plans, the site plan. We're gonna have from our architects, the project budget, the cost of that. The finance director at the town council meeting would give a financial review to the town council, and the hope is that they would set the net municipal rate like we did for the high school project, which is the amount that the town of Farmington is going to have to bond for the project. Utilizing potential some ARPA funds to offset that cost to taxpayers would create that net municipal cost. So total project budget minus ARPA funds equals net municipal cost.
And we're thinking that at the first January meeting here for our building committee, the building committee would review a pretty good idea of what the presentation would be like, the budget, what the cost is, and then Peter and the group would come to the second town council meeting, and we could we are also meeting on the 24th too, if we need to make any tweaks, but the thought would be is on the 24th, the building committee would come to the council's meeting, and it's a special, it would be like a one agenda item, and they go through it.
And that would be on the 24th.
24th.
Okay.
January 24th.
January 24th, and then January 10th meeting, potentially we would have a good chunk of this information all wrapped up
Right.
from Chris.
And then probably,
Dave.
yeah, and then Joey will probably on the January
Hey, Chad,
10th
give a-
meeting, kind of give a little preview
Yeah.
of it.
Okay,
And so they wouldn't be complete. And then we'd have the January 24th, and that's when they'd set the municipal budget.
budget, right.
And then, oh, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'm just curious if this project qualifies for any other money.
We are looking into incentives through Eversource for
Uh-huh.
some utility incentives, and that's based on the mechanicals that are being designed. So those meetings are going to be starting.
Yeah, we set up a meeting, I think, at the end of the month with Eversource and with our architects to look at some of those types of things for energy and incentives that way. So we're,
That's about it as far as.
I think as Kristen explained, I don't think we think there's anything else at this point, right, for funding?
I'm sorry.
No, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Did
And
that
then-
answer your questions, Jean, or? do you
Yes,
just-
thank you.
Go ahead, Ken.
Then just moving towards referendum, pretty high level, February and March. Normal committee meetings, kind of continuing to flush out that schematic design and move towards referendum. That's also the opportunity for the committee to do some community presentations, coffee with the committee, get out there and, get on the road and give information about the project. We're hoping to put with the budget referendum at the end of April, that's scheduled for April 27th. So that would be the potential, and the blackout period for that would start at the beginning of April when town council sends it to referendum. So it's really January, February, March to hit the ground running to finalize this.
And then I think it's important to remember that because it's going to be part of the operating budget during we'll
Right.
be talking about it at the council level. We'll be talking about it at the capital projects meeting in February, the council will, and then we'll talk about it the week of March when we're doing the budget. And so I think that there will be lots of opportunities for the public to see the project
The
and
annual town
at the
meeting.
annual town meeting.
Yep.
So,
Okay. Thank you, Kat, Dan, Jean.
and
Go ahead.
Chris, did we answer your question?
Perfectly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dan and Mike, do you have anything else you like or questions on the communication?
Oh, thank you.
Anyone?
set. All good.
Okay, financial report, Kathy.
You have the financial report in your packet, and as you can see what our starting balance is, what our expenses are, and what our account balance is. And basically, right now, what we've just been paying for are our invoices for our architects. And our next expense, I think, will probably be the newsletter also.
Agenda item G, new business. I need a motion to approve the next invoice amount of $10,120.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Any discussion?
I always approve architects.
Excellent. There's one positive vote there. Okay, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion passes. Okay, other business. Kat, Nancy,
No.
nothing?
No,
Okay, I just need a motion for an adjournment.
and our next meeting
It
is
is
January
January.
10th.
got it. Okay,
Move we adjourn.
all
second,
right. I need a second.
second.
All those in favor say by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned from the 1908 Building Committee. Thank you, everyone.
you.
Thank you.